Absolutely.
So I'm trying to get into this, right? So that's where my value proposition is, trying to get into this very upscale oil versus very old oil.
In very healthy oil. Right?
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
so that's it.
It's
So that's
healthy. The quality
okay.
is like, I think it's a Canada produced.
Right.
The best in the
Absolutely,
world.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Yeah, a month ago I ran a similar workshop for Alberta agri-food producers, and you had a couple of canola and flax oil producers. So if you need context, let me know.
Yes, please.
Sure. In Edmonton and Calgary area.
Okay.
Yes.
In your experience, is there for food products like a time frame that you know, okay, if you don't have a shelf life a certain amount of time, you don't even bother trying to export?
That's a good question. But I haven't really heard and have never come across the products that have really short shelf life, unless it's like a fresh meat or something like
2
that.
months. Is that like?
Oh, 2 months. 2 months is perfectly fine.
Because
Yeah.
some Canadian and North American companies look at that and go, that's too short.
Right, but you got to make sure that you ship by air. It's going to be more expensive, but if the shelf life is only 2 months, then it worth it.
Do you find that because I guess one of my clients was wondering if it's even feasible to consider exporting because it's a food product, 2
Yep.
months of shelf life, but if it's a fly, all of a sudden that margin is shrunk because it would probably cost more to ship it than that you would. So, is there some general rules that if it doesn't fulfill the requirements, don't even bother trying?
No. There's no general rule. You have to calculate everything. So you have to, before jumping in, you have to calculate the price, and we're going to talk about price calculation in the next section. And if the price of the product, when you finally, it's called landed cost. So if the landed cost is so high that the consumer cannot afford it in the target market, then you should not go there.
Yeah.
But if it's some sort of premium fruit or something like that, maple syrup is a little bit more regulated, but we can use that example. It's the premium product and there's not a lot of competition. Sure. There maybe 90% of the consumers wouldn't be able to afford it, but you can sell it to 10% of your target market, and it will be just enough for you to make money. So you have to calculate every time. There's no general rule. Okay. Right. Any other questions before we move on? All right. By the way, there's some more room up front, so you can come forward. Okay. Now let's talk about the profiling of the ideal buyer or supplier. Again, depending on the nature of your business, whether you intend to export or import, you have to either profile your supplier or profile your buyer. Also, it really depends on specifically buyers who you're selling to, because you may sell the product directly to the consumers. Maybe you have a little online store, and you are not restricted to the domestic market. So if you have an online store, you can sell internationally, provided that you translate it and you properly position it. Or you may buy it from other businesses or sell it to the other businesses. So depending on the nature of your operations, the nature of your counterparty, I would say, then you apply different approaches. If you talk about consumers, their demographics is key. So you got to know their age, their gender, their financial status, their family situation. Again, depending on what type of product. You also want to know who makes the decision to buy the goods. So who usually makes the decision to buy food products? Ben or we?
Yeah.
Good.
Depends
Depends on what?
who's cooking at home.
There you go. Good point. Yeah, once in a while, men cook too. Okay. Yeah. Usually, I live here in Canada, usually Christmas Eve. Anyways, with regards to other businesses, normally what you wanted to know is the size of the businesses, either by employees or by their operations. And there are some tools you can extract that information, usually through the like databases, like for example, Scott's Directors in Canada, or Dun & Bradstreet internationally, so you can look up the businesses in certain areas, also certain industries, certain sizes, and it will help you to profile them. The reason again why you profile your ideal either buyers or sellers is because you have limited budget and you cannot advertise to everyone. So before moving on to the exercise, maybe there's somebody who can give example of their ideal buyer, for example. But let's talk about buyers first. Just looking at, again, this is not extensive list. You may add things like, I don't know, like flavors, I don't know, maybe some are.
Using her example, right? She said that she got a food product which is 2 months that will expire. So in her case, maybe it's better to go straight to the customer because you go to the business and it's a supermarket that has to sell them.
Right.
2 months is too short for them.
That's a good point actually, because if we're talking about food products, then yeah, the ultimate consumers will be human beings, and you better to know who they are, right? Like what's their, I don't know, ethnicity, age and gender and so forth. But most likely, the supermarkets will be selling them. So you have to profile 2 of them. The example could be, let's take Canada, right? The examples could be whether the product can be listed by, I don't know, Walmart and Loblaws, or by either like smaller chain, or maybe some sort of ethical stores, ethical food stores. The chances are that the smaller the chain is, the higher the chance is. However, I do know the cases where the food products from it's a great success story. The Colombian fruits were listed by Loblaws, and it's in fact like one person who launched the business a few years ago. So yeah, things of this nature can also happen in international trade. And go into the specific example. What's the product, by the way? Can we maybe run through this exercise?
Yeah, it's a raw vegan superfood brownie that's in a to-go package. So like it would be in the convenience category of food items.
Right. So, well, definitely the key word that I'm hearing is vegan, correct? So you already have like a social profile of the customers who are perceived to buy the product. Would probably be vegans, right? Versus burger lovers, correct? Yeah. However, some flavors maybe you have flavors maybe they are for meat. In which case, burger lovers would be the target audience for flavors. And in terms of the stores, it's a little bit difficult for me to give examples, but I do see some not the vegan stores, but rather vegan cafes and places in the food courts.
Hugely popular in Europe, Germany, UK, Belgium, France, and there's tons of like a whole bio movement or organic vegan movement, and even Deleuze, I'm sure you know Deleuze and the largery, Eagle and stuff. They have vegan sections now, but that is a missing category, missing niche right now.
There you go. Yeah, so that's a good example. So maybe not the largest chains, but like medium, kind of small to medium chains.
Because are you saying that because it's easier to actually get in and get face-to-face meeting, or to sample the product?
Actually both. It's also related to your capability. Because can you? Yeah, exactly. So let's say if you secure the contract with Walmart.
Oh shit.
I mean, there you go.
You cannot fulfill that. Yeah.
That's exactly. How do you fulfill that? Yeah. How do you fulfill it? Do you have enough, supply of the product to satisfy the unlimited Walmart demand?
Well, I think when you're trying to develop a consumer food product, whether it's business to business or not, you really have to look at, are they going to hit you with a shelf cost? Because if you have to pay $50,000 or $100,000, you're either got more money than you need to forever, or
Right.
you can't do it.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
you know, your choice is, I've got to go to where they're going to charge me for shelf.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, specifically to the food product, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, especially you, who are dealing with food service. If it's a food product, you don't necessarily have to sell it through the store. You may potentially sell it to, the suppliers to a restaurant and hotels. Maybe you can sell it even directly to the restaurants and hotels, resorts, or wherever premium places where we relax and enjoy. They are looking for much better quality of the product versus the price.
But you need to come up with another basically level of logistics for distribution.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
For this business, yes, I would like to add something. I think this business just works for family business or community business. Because if you go to talk about the export import, you need a company. For example, big company doesn't have any problem. But small business, they cannot exist with this business because they cannot have good income. Because a lot of tools need to export their products. Just connection is one. Receiving your money is other thing. The same for letter of credit, other things. Marketing is another thing. A lot of tools needs to for small business to do that. This is very important.
Absolutely.
But I think if we focus, a small business focus on a stakeholder, they can work very well. But if they want to do the export, they need $100,000 million money to develop their business.
Yes and no. I do agree there is definitely cost, but the way this costs are incurred is like gradual, right? It's not something that you absolutely have to have $100,000 to start your business. You may start with shipping 1 or 2 boxes, and you don't need that much money. That's
how you sell these products, how you
But-
about the
but-
transportation,
right.
about the receiving money.
Absolutely. But it all comes only after you have secured the customer. Right? Yes, exactly.
How you can
But exactly. But this is something that cannot be reimbursed, correct? And I haven't actually heard of any cases where it would cost hundreds of thousands, but still, you may need to go and visit the other country. It's a cost, right? You may, ship some samples for free. It's also a cost. So it will cost you. No questions asked. But it's not something that you need to, send a full container free of charge to just, set up your business. Do you agree? Yeah. So you will be gradually increasing your costs, the cost of doing business, and that's why what we always recommend is to start slow. Start maybe with 1 box or 1 pallet.
Or just as mentioned, just community or family business. Because if you find other business, you should expend the money. You should travel. You should go see the market.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Spend money.
Yeah, you should spend money, but you should spend wisely. Like you have to understand before you spend money how much you can potentially get from the market. Fair enough. I agree with that. Okay, so why don't we take a few minutes and think about the profile of our ideal customer? By the way, raise your hand, those of you who don't have any products in your mind, like absolutely not. 1, 2, okay, 3, 4, okay. Okay, we're gonna talk about the product selection next. So for now, you can skip the exercise, but you can get back to it as soon as soon as you get the idea of the product. Yes?
I have a question. Do you have in mind any sort of support or programs offered by the provincial government or the federal government to help produce exporters right now that are in place and we can use in order to make our produce, arrive to those markets, like say Mexico, for example? Is there a program right now where I can approach with a group of farmers? We're thinking of that.
Yeah, there is some like matchmaking opportunities, matchmaking programs. And if we talk about food products, is it exporting Canadian food products to Mexico or vice versa?
That's right.
Canadian food to Mexico, okay. So yeah, there are a few options. We're going to talk more in the next section. But just to give you a heads up, yeah, there is Agri-Food Canada, the federal agency. They have Agri-Food Trade Commissioners. You are more than welcome to get in touch with them. They are in Mexico for sure, so they may be able to get you some leads. And on a provincial level, they aren't that active in agri-food sector, but I would connect to OMAFRA, Ontario Ministry of Agri-Food and whatever. Where that? Who knows what OMAFRA is? What is that, sorry?
This is agricultural, right?
Yeah, Agriculture Ministry, Ontario Agriculture Ministry. They also have the international trade branch.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, anyone wants to share their profile for ideal customers? Anyone does not want to share the profile of their ideal customers? Raise your hands. Who does not want to share the profile of the ideal customer? Okay, well, let's take it slowly. All right, let's take the consumers who has men and who is women? Raise your hand. Who is women as their target consumers? One, okay. Two, okay. Three. Okay, how about males? If you're looking at the consumer market, if you're looking at business to business, we'll discuss later. Okay, all right, no problem. Let's go and look into the profile of the businesses who you are selling to. Yeah. Did you have any example?
Oh, well, it's like, for me, I have the idea to import tomatoes.
Mhm.
So I think it doesn't matter men or women.
Sure, yeah, you're most likely, well, not most likely, but you will for sure import them through some sort of either food service companies or retailers for sure. Yeah, do you have any like specific preference into which market specifically you will be selling them to?
I don't have any idea. That's why I'm here.
Right, okay. But at least you have the product, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
The product one of my, the brother of my friend is a producer.
Okay.
So he has the product and
Mhm.
I wanted to help him with the interest.
Okay. Yeah, so, first of all, we can do the geography, right? Let's just go one by one. Yeah, see if there's some issues in in this exercise, but let's go through geography. So would you rather prefer somebody here in, say, Canada, Ontario, Toronto, or in the opposite case? Maybe it's better for you to target somebody outside, right? Like in your case, for example, in case of cowboy shoes, right? Yes, certainly Toronto may be a good market, but there potentially are more stores trading this product in the West, right? In the United States, yeah, absolutely. So depending on your product, think about that geography that applies. Yeah, of course, since you're here, since you live here, it will be more convenient for you to do business here. But is it maybe your market may not necessarily be in the GTA. Yes.
Just curious, how common, if at all, is it where you see companies exporting a product outside of the Canadian marketplace first, without being prevalent in Canada, like starting outside as opposed to starting inside?
You've seen more cases of importing to Canada rather than exporting from Canada. Yeah, in fact, if you look at the trade stats, you'll find that 76% of Canadian goods are exported to the United States alone. So, like overall Canadian economy and Canadian business is not that export savvy. So, yeah, I can't really give you an example of starting exporting from scratch, but it happens. Yeah, it happens depending on your industry and your target market. There are some companies though that export more to say Asian countries than to the United States. So I know those examples.
What
Yes.
kind of industries it's more important to export from Canada to Mexico? I mean, what kind of target or what kind of industry?
Yeah, we're going to cover this in just the next section. We're going to talk about the market selection. I'll also show you the tool that can help you to select the product. If you, for example, if you have the connections in Canada and say Mexico or another country, and you're looking for the product, you don't have any idea what product you should trade, but kind of like the idea. So in the next section, I'll show you how you can get the ideas. Okay. Yes.
Well, I want to give you an example. For